Hey guys, Natasha Tessier here. Are you trying to figure out how the property taxes work in Texas, why they're so expensive, and how to fight them? Listen up, I'm gonna go over all of it today. Hey guys, Natasha Tessier, welcome back. I've been on moving and take a few days break, but I'm back to my YouTube channel. Would love for you to hit the subscribe button. Tell me what you're looking for. Tell me how I can help. Please comment below and let me know who you are and what you're looking for or what questions I can answer, and I'd be glad to do more videos. Today, we're gonna talk about property taxes. I've spoken about it before. I just watched a video from another local YouTuber and the information was all incorrect. So I don't want there to be a lot of incorrect information out there. There's several people that have just recently moved here in the past few years and are running a YouTube channel, but they're not giving correct data. So I think it makes it very, very confusing. So today I want to break it down for you, property taxes top to bottom. I have some notes for you here. So first thing is, this other YouTuber is saying that Katy has one property tax rate and Fulshire has one top property tax rate. That's 100% not true. Every neighborhood has a different property tax rate. So like when I lived in Wood Forest, which is in Montgomery, I was paying 2.79. Now I moved to my new neighborhood, I'm paying 1.79. We're both in the same school district, we're both in the same county. We live in Montgomery, but we have different property taxes. So please be aware that every neighborhood is different. There are ways to get lower property taxes, and keep in mind, most of my clients from out of state are paying high state income tax. So if you're paying 5 or 10% of your income to the state, people don't think about this, we don't pay that. So in the end, let's just say you make $100,000 a year. Well, 10% of that, in parts of California, which is 10 grand of that, is already going to the state of California. Plus, then you have property taxes, which are lower on top of that. But in the end, most of my clients end up ahead here when it comes to the higher property tax. So we do have one of the higher property taxes in the nation. Let me break it down for you. So the first neighborhood I'm going to give you an example of is mine. And in my neighborhood, our hospital and emergency tax is 0.16% of the value of every house. So that's one section. Another section is the ISD, which is our independent school district, and that would be Montgomery ISD in my situation. Montgomery ISD is 1.26. And then we have the county tax, Montgomery. So ours is 0.41. Harris County, though, is 0.64. So already moving from Harris to Montgomery County, you're going to have a lower tax bill. So just keep all that in mind. It's your county, it's your school district that you're in. Plus, some of them have a MUD tax, which is a municipal utility district tax. And that's a lot of the newer neighborhoods, a lot of the master plan communities. We don't have that in my neighborhood. So I'm only paying 1.8% in property tax because I'm not adding a MUD tax in there. So I went and did a neighborhood out in Katy. They had a MUD of 0.49. They had the independent school district, so Katy ISD is 1.52, and then Harris County, like I said, is 0.64%. So if you're calculating this, let's just say it's a $500,000 house and your total tax rate is 0.264%. So if you multiply that out, that's $13,000 in property taxes, about $1,000 a month a year. So you take that same $500,000 house, you come to the neighborhood that I'm in, and it's 1.8. So instead of it's almost a percent less. So just for ease of, let's just do 2.8 to 1.8%. Okay, so if it's 1% less on 500,000, that's $5,000 a year over 12 months that you're saving every year in taxes. So there are places around that you can find that have lower property taxes. A good example from Katy, just going out to Fulshire. So one of their municipal utility districts in a neighborhood I looked at was 0.16. Their ISD is 1.52, and they're in Fort Bend County. Now you're down to 0.45. So a little bit more than Montgomery County, but very similar, but not in Harris County where you're at 0.63. So you go a little bit further from Katy out to Fulshire, and all of a sudden your tax rate goes down quite a bit, and you end up saving, I think I calculated on the $500,000 house, it was almost $3,000 a year in taxes. So just for comparison's sake, that's 3 different ways of doing this. Some property taxes in new neighborhoods go up to 3.6. I've even seen 3.7. 1.7 where I'm at is the lowest I've seen. I don't know if there's anything lower across across the state, but that's pretty low. However, I'm not paying a state income tax, so I'm only paying that value. So let's move on to different ways to save on the property taxes. We have several exemptions. First is going to be your homestead exemption. Again, this other YouTuber said that that's $25,000 across the board. That's not true. Every district and everybody gives different discounts for homestead. Homestead means that's your house that you live in, and you do get a large exemption. However, like in Montgomery, they passed a law in May that said that anybody who is zoned to Montgomery ISD, instead of getting $20,000, they're going to get $40,000 because our rates were going so high. They were worried about people not being able to afford their property taxes. And that law passed in May of 2022. And therefore, we, for just that portion, get to appraise our house $40,000 less. So again, let's go back to that $500,000 house. Instead of paying tax on the $500,000, I'm going to pay it on $460,000 value. Again, that's obviously not money off the taxes, but that's off the value that you're going to calculate that on. So again, it is not true that every area is $25,000 for homestead exemption. That's just not true. When you go to new construction, a lot of times they'll use these words. Our tax rate is 3.2, but after homestead, it's 2.9. Again, misinformation. So it's not a rate change. The rate stays the same. It's the amount of the value. So the homestead does bring it down, but it's different everywhere. And it's not just a calculation you can throw out there. You need to see what that particular neighborhood is offering on homestead exemptions. I'm going all in today. I'd love for you to subscribe right now. I'd love to hear where you're from and what you pay in your property taxes. Will you comment below and just tell me, hey, I live here and I pay this in property tax and your state income tax? Love to hear from you. So I'm just trying to combat some of this misinformation out there because it's not true. So homestead exemption. The other thing that's really big is a VA disability. Now there's a chart again for every county and how much they knock off. Now, if you get 100% disability, you don't pay property taxes in Texas. Very, very cool. So some of my clients have 100%, they don't pay a property tax bill. But if it's 80%, it might be like 10 grand off your bill. It's not as big and as great as that you think unless you hit that 100% disability. So just keep that in mind. Again, it will help. Everything helps bring it down. But unless you're at 100%, that's the only reason you wouldn't pay. And then we have an over 65 exemption. Again, different for every area. I can't calculate them all for you. If you call me and you say, hey, help me figure out the tax rate on this with over 65 and homestead, happy to do that. But it's different for every area. But that's another way to save. The other information that was told is that they mail it out, and if you miss the mailer, you can't file. Not true. All this is done online. And there's also in Harris County, there's an app. In Montgomery County, you can go to MCAD, Montgomery County Appraisal District. Once you have your driver's license changed with the new address, they do require that you load that. You can go in and file for homestead and file for all those things. Now, last year I moved to a new house 2 years ago, and I filed in February. I did not get my homestead recorded until like May or June. So it takes them a while to record it, but we pay our taxes in the rears. So I will pay 2023 in December for this whole year. So keep that in mind as well. The last thing I want to talk about is how can you fight your property taxes? So yes, they're supposed to go out every 3 years. They do a new value every year, and there are several ways to fight it. What I find the easiest is I have a lawyer, and he only takes the percentage off of what I get. So let's say his rate is, 25%, and he saves me $2,000 on my taxes. So his fee would be $500, but I don't do anything. He goes in, he gets the comps, he goes to court for me, he sets it all up, and basically my value goes down. That's probably the easiest way. However, a lot of people want to go fight it themselves. 3 kids, job, not a lot of time. But you can, and if you want to, you just go to your county appraisal office and they have a time frame of when you can fight the values. So you want to get it in that time frame, otherwise you lose the chance to fight it. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is that once you live in a house, at least in Montgomery County, for a full year, they can only raise it 10%. So they can't all of a sudden double your value and, basically have you not be able to afford your house. So after that first year, it goes up, can only go a max tax of 10%. Every year I've fought it, every year I've gotten it down. So there are ways to get it down and to keep it low. And you just have to run those values, see what's selling. Obviously we kind of peaked last year, but our prices are down and they're much more level now. And so for this year, we should be able to fight that. So anyway, I hope this helps. Property tax video. I want you to know that there's misinformation out there and I don't want you to be confused. Don't go into new construction and think that you're going to get your rate dropped from 3.3 to 2.9. It's not going to happen. But I just want to be realistic with you. There are ways to fight it and bring it down. And the other thing is, a lot of people, it's worth it to pay that 3% because you get all the brand new amenities, brand new houses, brand new walking trails. I live in an older neighborhood we did build, and that's why my rate's so low. I mean, the neighborhood's 20 years old, but we don't have a ton of amenities. We have lakes that we live on, which is beautiful, but we don't have walking trails or anything like that. So it's a pros and cons, a give and take. I hope this helps. Please subscribe. Please let me know where you're from and have a blessed day.